Welcome back to the Barry Charles Footy Show, Round 6 NRL Review. Yes, indeed, it had it all. From Victor Radley, brain explosion, the Dolphins lassoing the Cowboys, the Warriors getting shown a good lesson from the Knights as equal top spot was up for grabs and they choked. And my glaring bold prediction from the start of the year that Manly are gonna implode and they should have kept Des Hasler, Anthony Seibold walking the tightrope. He was expected to deliver, but instead he gets drunk and goes to McDonald's early hours of the morning. Not a good look for a new coach in the competition. And there's going to be so much more on this episode of the NRL Round 6 review. But remember first to share this with all your friends. And remember to kick the like button. As for all you Tigers fans out there, that Luke Brooks will be kicked out of town after another disappointing loss. But there might be a few injuries that keep Luke Brooks in the team. But to me, it's see you later out of Tiger Town for Luke Brooks. Otherwise, it will be another wooden spoon for the West Tigers. And it wasn't Mike Maguire's problem. It wasn't the coach's problem. It was the player's problem. And to just top all that, that's not even the biggest story out of the round here. Brett Stewart back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons for an alleged cocaine possession charge. So what does this tell you about the NRL? Even though he hasn't played for a while, clearly he was doing this when he was playing in his playing days. The NRL need to do more to get rid of drugs out of the game. I believe there's a clause in their contracts that they can't get checked over a certain period of the off season. To me, that's just craziness. If you're playing in this competition, you should have to be tested for drugs at any time, day or night. When is enough? You got Wendell Sailor, Sandor Earl, Andrew Johns, Jared Mullen, Brett Stewart, Ben Barber, Jesse Bromwich, Kieran Proctor, the New Zealand Kiwis, the Sleeping Pill saga, including Sonny Bill Williams, Cameron Munster, Brandon Smith, Chris Lewis, and of course most recently Reece Walsh with the Warriors, and so many more that just don't get caught. What are NRL doing about it? Not enough, in my opinion. If they want to get fair dinkum of eradicating it, the CBA needs to come to the party as well and drug test any time of the year. When you're putting other people's lives at risk, especially family members, the wives, the partners, children, when you're taking drugs, these guys are supposed to be the role models of the game. And everyone in the community. The NRL needs to say no more. Otherwise, someone like Reece Walsh will just continue to take them thinking that he only got a slap on the wrist, nothing much else. And I didn't really feel the consequences of his actions. We want to strip Jared Hayne of his titles. Well, how about we strip the titles of Andrew Johns? No, he's the Messiah. Untouchable. We have a very short memory, don't we, fans out there? Yes, Jared Johns took drugs. Jared Hayne has a lot of stuff he's got to deal with, been found guilty. And let's not just say one person gets it, do it for everyone. If you're going to be fair dinkum. Well, let's get back to the good stuff, the tips of the round here. The Storm, yes. The Rabbitohs, yes. Dolphins, no. Didn't get that one. The Panthers, yes. The Raiders, well, that was one of the upsets of the round with the Dolphins. Titans got it done. Could argue that was an upset too. The Knights got it done. Over the Warriors, they got that one wrong. Eels got it done, so yes. They got 5 out of 8. So that puts my season tally at 29.5. Out of 48, so not going too bad, but I was aiming for 6 out of 8 each week. It's going to be a tough order to continue, but wasn't too bad. But yes, we got to get. I really should have picked the Knights. As I was talking about, I was thinking about it, but I ended up just going with the heart instead of the head on that one. So it really should have been 6-8, but that's the way it goes. And the Warriors seemed a little bit tired after the Sharkies game, and looks like. Let's look at the Dally M points I picked for this round. And I couldn't get, and there was some very good performances. And there was one unlucky fellow that missed the points. He had Dylan Edwards. He deserved to probably get a point, but there was 3 other outstanding performances. He had 3 points, absolutely, to me, had to go to Cameron Munster. It was a one-man show, masterclass, 200 metres, 2 tries. 2 tries, assists, a try, 1 line break. He was outstanding. 17 tackles, 419 metres. The other one who could easily got the 3 points as well, but I've given him the 2 points, Mitchell Moses. He was outstanding last night. He absolutely carved up. He had the ball on a string. 3 beautiful kicks between Luke Brooks most of the time to score some, set up 4 try assists. He was on fire. Absolutely outstanding for the Parramatta Eagles. And one point to Latrell Mitchell for he was very good as well. 150 games, getting the 3 tries and all his heroics, but I thought the other 2 had more importance on the game. Those 2 weren't. If Mitchell Moses and Cameron Munster weren't there, those teams probably wouldn't have won their game. That's how important they were. So looking at the overall Dally M table, on top at 4 points is Reece Walsh. Then we've got a host on 3 with Mitchell Moses jumping up the ladder, with Cameron Munster as well, getting his first points for the season. Sean Johnson, Nico Hines, DCE and Marcel Montoya is well off the pace from his best game of the season. 2 points, Dominic Young, Jacob Carraz, Latrell Mitchell. He's on 1 point, sorry. Latrell Mitchell, 2 points from the other. Tohu Harris, Tommy Turbo, and Cody Walker. And then 1 point for Harry Grant. Latrell Mitchell's on 1 point, not 2 points. Hammer, Jermaine Asako. They wrap up the leaderboard in the Dally M's. But let's get to the review. And yes, Thursday night football. Yes, indeed. Ready to rock. The Melbourne Storm put on a clinic. And to be honest, there was only one-way traffic. And they probably should have won 50 points to 8. But they just don't have the same talent as previous years. But that's not to say Cameron Munster was absolutely in everything. He was carving up. He just absolutely did everything. 10 out of 10 performance from him. He was everything. So the Melbourne Storm with an 86% completion rate compared to a 59 possession. I mean, they were always going to win this game, no doubt about it. I think you have to say the score could have been a lot higher, but they got it done. For the Roosters, only 61% completion rate was not good at all. 300 more metres less for the Roosters against the Storm. The Storm, 42 tackle breaks to the Roosters 16. 300 more kicking metres from the Storm. Pretty much shows that the Roosters were no show in this game. And then Victor Radley just put in a brain explosion, and really that supplemented the 1-0 with 2 tries right there. Even though it wasn't the worst tackle in the world, but it was just complete stupidity. And as predicted in my preview show, Victor Radley had this in him. So, unfortunately, the Roosters are going to have to go back to the drawing board. Yes. And it pretty much reminds me of some of the old school players back in the day, of the Greg Birds, and obviously on this team JWH, just giving away selling penalties when not needed, and it's going to cost them down the track. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes into the future. Justin Wallum, he was outstanding, getting back to his mighty best. Xavier Coates with a hat-trick. Very good again. I look at the Storm stats overall with all the players. I just think it was more of a team performance, and that's why they got it done. There wasn't many outstanding stats, but as a team was outstanding outside of Munster. So they all contributed to the win. if they continue to show that toughness, they're going to be one of the teams to beat in this competition. Katoa continues to impress, going very well. It's one of the buys of the year, but obviously Reece Ross is probably going to be the buy of the year. I suppose if you want someone to step up in the Storm team, I think Jerome Hughes could go to another level. He's been a bit quiet this year. And Tarek Sims only come back from injury, and this is only his first game, so you'd expect improvement, but for what they'll be wanting 100 metres from him each week, especially without Pappenhausen and NSA out of the team at the moment. For the Roosters, Joey Manu, I think they didn't miss absolutely nothing with Tedesco out there. A very good game from him. Daniel Tupou had a mixed bag. He ran a lot of metres, but 3 dropped balls. Wasn't good for you Roosters fans out there. Egan Butcher and Nat Butcher, they defended their hearts out, but they did nothing in attack for them. Sam Walker had an off night with the boot and some errors. Luke Keary went back into his shower. To be fair, didn't have much of the ball, but really you need to deliver when you don't have much ball. Drew Hutchinson is not a centre. He can do an okay job, but he was exposed and didn't gain many metres. He needs to go back to the bench for mine, especially with Corey Allen there or Paul Romorowski. One of those two could easily just slot in there. Roosters, the Roosters will have Teddy back next week, but that's not the issue. The forward pack, they're missing a few obviously, but they're just not looking and the attention to detail to win these games. It's been a big issue for the last few years for the Roosters, and it looks like they're a team of individuals instead of a team they want to play for each other. And obviously the biggest one, the biggest talking Rooster, Brandon Smith, maybe needs to get off the social media, needs to get off the podcast, get off the joking around at the media conferences and stop hanging out with James Tedesco and the others at the coffee shop and get back to focusing on footy. He's focused on footy, mate. Actually win some games. You can do all that talking if you're winning games, but if you're losing games, maybe you need to just quiet it down and concentrate on the footy. He might be a funny guy, but if your team's losing, well, that's not good for you. The gun players need to perform. Well, let's go on to Friday night football. And yes, the atmosphere was great to see. Good to see a crowd of over 30,000 at the game. And for the first 30 minutes, Bulldogs fans were celebrating. But after that, it turned to custard. Yes, it did. Sonny Bill was interacting with the Bulldogs fan members. The Prime Minister was there supporting the Rabbitohs. And I was wearing my Rabbitohs top in a sea of Bulldogs fans. And to start off with, it probably didn't look too great for the Rabbitohs fans. There's a great start from the Bulldogs. But one of the most important things I got out of the game, sitting there in the crowd, is the fan favourite Josh Reynolds was cheered on, absolutely like he was a legend. But by the end of the game, they were booing him. Even by half-time, they were booing him for giving away silly penalties. Gave away that silly tackle that stopped the try for them, taking a player out. So, just like Victor Radley, so disappointing. 4 missed tackles from Josh Reynolds. For his 2 games, he's been very disappointing. And I hope for Reynolds he does improve, but for what I've seen in the first couple of games, he has struggled to make another appearance, but he might just get an appearance because they've got so many injuries at the moment. Tommy Burgess, grabbing the scrotum area. I probably thought it should have got cited. Just because you're looking the other way doesn't mean you're not knowing what you're doing. It's probably, I think it should have been a penalty. Whether it should have been anything else, should he got a week for it? That's up for debate. But you can't really do it in the game, so maybe he should have got a week. But that's footy. Jacob Preston hip drop has just got to be taken out of this game. The Rabbitohs were expected to beat the Bulldogs, but they really, once Josh Adokar went out, they scored about 7 tries down that end, his side of the field. It just went their way all night, and the score reflected it. Matt Byrne tried his hard. They were getting a double, but Flanagan, sadly, is not up to NRL standard. But for his case, how many are up to NRL standard? You look at Luke Brooks and quite a few other players in the game, and there's not enough decent halfbacks out there, so they continue to get a job, but I reckon they should go with someone new. And when you look at the competition, you got Braden Trindle, could easily be playing in another club in the number 7 jersey, and obviously Peasant as well could easily take a jump off some of the others. So interesting to see the future there. Yes, looking at the stats of the game, 57% to the Rabbitohs, so it was going to be one-way traffic at the end of this game. The Bulldogs' completion wasn't great either, it was 71%, and the Rabbitohs 75, sorry. Nothing to write home about, but the Rabbitohs, 600 more running metres. That's where the game was won there. 30 tackle breaks to 12. That sums up the game right there. So the Rabbitohs really got away with it late in the first half and then just went completely bonkers in the second half. The Bulldogs just couldn't defend. It was interesting to see the Bulldogs made 140 more kicking metres. So Matt Burton's kicking game was on fire, but apart from that, they weren't really getting into it. Reid Mahoney was big for the Bulldogs with 50 tackles, and compared to Damien Cook with 31, the biggest for the Rabbitohs, that shows you how much defence the Bulldogs made. Obviously, the man of the match was Latrell Mitchell, 26 points, 3 tries, 191 run metres, 1 line break, assist, 2 try assists. He was in everything, absolutely in everything. Cody Walker, 4 line break assists, 3 try assists, and a try for himself, so that was good to see Cody Walker. And Campbell Graham, 3 tries and over 150 metres, so good stuff from him. Obviously, doing it against a weak team, that's fine, but you got to do it against the top teams. Tom Burgess and Kolomatangi, when all your gun players are in form, they're a team to stop. But obviously, as you've seen against the Storm the week before, they couldn't get it done against the Storm team, and on paper, Rabbitohs had the better team. That is the question mark for the Rabbitohs going forward, is whether they can get that consistency to beat the top teams to be good enough to win a premiership. They seem to always be there, good enough to make the preliminary final, but just can't take that next step to beat the Storm, Panthers, and so on. That's been their Achilles heel for a long time. They need to find it. And Lachlan Elias needs to be part of that solution and deliver as well. Not be in and out of games. So what has that done for the form guides here? Yes. Well, the first upset of the round, obviously, here in the Queensland Derby. The Dolphins getting it done. 32-22 over the Cowboys. The Dolphins have put themselves in the premiership contention now, winning 4 games for the season. So they're in with the Broncos, Storm, and Warriors. So there are only 4 teams at the moment on history that can win the comps at the moment. Let's have a look at the other teams that need to try and get themselves in there. I'd expect Penrith and the Roosters, they only need 1 more win. You'd expect both of them to get 1 more win and put themselves in the premiership threats. Teams that need 2 out of 3 here. Manly, the Dragons, the Sharks. They have to win 2 out of their next 3. The other teams, they only need 1. The Titans, they need to win 1 out of their next 3. The Knights and Rabbitohs have to win 1 of the next 2. Same with the Bulldogs. So it's just interesting times there. And then there's a few teams here that need to win both games. Parramatta, Cowboys and Raiders. Will any of them do it? They got to win the next 2 in a row. Otherwise, their season is gone. With obviously the West Tigers, who are already on their way out the door with 6 losses and desperately need something to stop them getting the wooden spoon. Let's get back to the Dolphins game. Dolphins clearly wanted it more than the Cowboys. The completion rate of of the Dolphins was 80% and the Cowboys was 67%. So it shows you that they just went into this game probably thinking they were going to win and were disappointing. Yes, this was the kicking game. Was also all Dolphins got them over the line. Hammer, 2 tries, 136 meters, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, and 1 try assist. He was outstanding. Jermaine Asako, 20 points, 3 tries, 168 meters. He has been one of the best under Bennett this season. Ewan Aiken probably had his best game in the season. Jerry Marshall-King just marshalling the troops around, playing very good football. Katoa was impressive, but he did make 7 missed tackles, so something for him to work on. Tommy Gilbert, very good Tommy Gilbert as usual. And winning without Jesse Bromwich is good times ahead for you Dolphins fans. And after that performance, then maybe they can make the top 8. But, the Cowboys just that bad. If he wants some improvements, I think Brinko Lee can improve if he wants to keep his spot long term. The Cowboys, wow. Well, not much to write home about here. Scott Drinkwater, he was good, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, but was down on his running meters and not even running for 100 meters, only 84. So even though he was one of their best, that shows you where they're at the moment. Valentine Holmes was huge, and Ruben Cotter in his return, he was solid as usual. But yeah, there's a lot of Cowboys players need to really get their defense right here. Drinkwater, 3 missed tackles. Cohen has 4 missed tackles. Griffin Lean, 6 tackles. Granville missed 5. And quite a few others. Tamalolo, 4. I mean, these are the experienced players, and missing tackles like Will. No wonder they lost the game. So they need to do a bit of soul searching there. Chad Townsend and Tom Dearden need to steer the ship around, and they desperately need to because they've got to win the next 2 if they want to be a premiership hope this season. Otherwise it could be a disastrous season there for the Cowboys, and to be honest, the way they're playing, and probably going to be. Let's go to Saturday night football. It was pure carnage. Yes, if you're a Manly fan, you were going home before halftime. It was disappointing. The Panthers made a statement. Yes, 44 points to 12, and it probably could have been more. Manly just looked helpless here. In the 55% possession rate and 84% completion, absolutely. Manly weren't too bad at 78%, but the Panthers just had them done and dusted. 900 more run meters. What else do I need to say? 12 line breaks to 0 for Manly. No line breaks at all. What's happening there? Tackle breaks 42 to 17. This is just something craziness. The funny thing is Manly won the kicking game, but they lost the game, so they show you that the kicking game doesn't always matter. If you're looking at the players this week, Edward Ford, look at Dylan Edwards, and he didn't make the top list. 4 tries, 3 line breaks, 2 line breaks, assists, 198 run means he was outstanding. 4 outstanding performances this week, and he unlucky not to get there. But he has been one of the most consistent players in the comp over the last 3 years, and there's no rep footy to show for it. He's the most unlucky player in the NRL at the moment. I remember Jared Coker about 5 or so years ago was probably one of the best centres in the game, but just could not get it in the New South Wales team, so he's an unlucky player too. Brian To'o, outstanding, 246 run meters. Nathan Cleary showed his class in 185 run meters, so that's very good to see. But a lot of players played good. Leota, 142. Isaiah Yeo, 210 meters. Spencer Lee, over 100 meters. So without their forward leader and James Fisher-Harris, they just got it done. Sonny Luke hasn't been dominating, but Zach Hosting's been impressive as well, and he's definitely keeping a spot in front of Luke Garner for the moment. But obviously my concern has been all season with the Panthers is the hooking role. But it looks like the hooking role, you don't need a decent hooker this season. You can get it done without it, with a lot of the backs doing a lot of the running these days. But then obviously that will be the Achilles heel coming in the end of the season. If they don't get on the front foot, can Clear and Luai get them out of the games if the hooking role is not dominant. Sea Eagles, on the other hand, were very woeful, not interested. Something's doing there. Something needs to be fixed. And Seafoot Boulders won the answer to that. Sleeping at the McDonald's was not a good look for him. Yes, what can we do? There's a lot of things that need to happen here. Quite a few missed tackles from some of the players here. With Tuolegi, 7 missed tackles, Jason Saab, 4. I'm sure there was a few others. Olakawatu as well, 4. Cooper Johnson didn't do much in this game. He was disappointing. Jack Tabor has been the leader of the scene and giving away 2 penalties. Not good. DC was quiet. Tommy Turbo was playing injured clearly. Will he be there long term? Does he need to have a break next week? And it's hard to give players a break when you need the wins. But he looked like a player that needed a rest. A lot of soul searching for Manly this week. Now the biggest upset of the round, yes, of the week. The Canberra Raiders come up and pull down the pants of the Broncos. 20 points to 14. Jared Croker making his return after a long layoff. His 293rd appearance for the Raiders. Looking to crack the 300. Let's hope he gets there. Let's hope his body doesn't let him down. Because he does deserve it. The Broncos had 53%, 53% of the possession. But the completion rate of 71% wasn't that great compared to the Raiders' 78%. Yes, the attack of the Broncos, they ran for more meters, more tackle breaks. Raiders had a better kicking game with 200 meters more. But that was the only stat they won. And the Raiders made 70 more tackles and they won the game. Well, all the factors say the Broncos should have won this game, but they didn't because they didn't have the heart of the Raiders, and that was the difference in this game. You look at Reece Walsh, 192 run meters. The whole back line of the Broncos ran over 100 meters. Payne Huss, 200 meters. Patrick Carrington, 150 meters. I mean, just the usual suspects getting it done. But at the end of the day, when Ezra Mann makes 7 missed tackles, Reece Walsh makes 3. Salmon Culver has a bad night, dropping the ball 3 times. 2 errors also from Kurt Capewell. That's where the Broncos lost it because they weren't concentrating enough. They obviously relaxed going into the game, and the Raiders came out and went bang. Rapana's 2 tries, 119 meters. Sebastian Chris, a lot of bagging Sebastian Chris, but he's getting through his meter, 169 meters. So he's going out. Josh Papali'i and Hudson Young doing their job. It was just an absolute carve up all night. Fogarty and Brad Schneider doing over 30 tackles this game, so there was a lot of defense run at these guys, but they handled it well and got it done. All the form line probably see the Broncos should have won by 12 points if you're looking at the stats, but they couldn't get it done. But the Raiders, for you Raiders fans, the job's not done. They need to do it 2 more times in a row if they want to be in the premiership race this season. Otherwise, they're just making up the numbers. I don't see that happening, so we'll see. The Broncos, I'm sure they'll learn a lot from that game, and we'll see if they really are true premiership force later in the season, or they're going to fall away again like last season. Let's have a look at the next game. Here, the Dragons. Yes, the Dragons taking on the Titans in a game that probably should have been Dragons' game, but it was just one of those games that players were unannounced. Zach Lomax said got an outstanding try and then made 5 missed tackles. So I mean, what's happening there? Ben Hunt won his time over again from going from hero to zero in the space of a couple of minutes, scoring, looking like the winning try. And next one he knocks on. And then he lets Toby Sexton walk through the big gap to score, strolling for the winning try. So disappointing there for Ben Hunt. A lot of the stats say the Dragons kicked for 200 more meters. Dragons, they miss more tackles. But you can't drop the ball like that. Ben Hunt was just disappointing. Especially from the team leader. We look at the Titans side, as I've been saying all year, that this man needs to be there every game. Jalen Campbell at fullback, he was outstanding. 183 run meters, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, and a try, outstanding. Philip Sammy, 275 run meters in the try. He was in good form as well. Brian Kelly playing his best game for a long time. Very good to see. David Fafita starting to fight for consistency with Tino. They were both very, very good, very talented. But looking on the other side of there was a few missed tackles here. Joe Simpson, 8 missed tackles. Aaron Shope, 5. Khan Pereira was a little disappointing on what he had been doing in previous games. Tanner Boyd didn't do much kicking at all. Sexton had a very good kicking game, so it's going to be interesting to see who keeps playing carrying forward. Dragons, on stats, had a very good team performance, but with the back 5 all running for 100 metres, Ben Hunt 154 metres, Muller over 130. So they had everything there, but Blake Laurie was very disappointing. 5 missed tackles. So very, and Lomax as well. Something needs to happen there. A little bit disappointing for you Dragons fans. But at the end of the day, Ben Hunt's the leader and he stuffed up. Cost him the game. He needs to. Yeah. But one positive for the Dragons, can Rabalawa turn up every week and continue to deliver, because he played outstanding and they need him to do that every single week. Let's go to what was clearly the game of the round. The Newcastle Knights versus the Warriors in a very entertaining Sunday night football game at Newcastle. And I don't know if the Warriors were ready for what Newcastle had delivered. The slow starts continue to cost the Warriors because the stats say something different here. Let's have a look. The completion rates were pretty even, 79% for the Knights and 80% for the Warriors. The Warriors ran for 300 metres more, but the Knights kicking game was slightly better with 150 more metres. Obviously, some bad news to come out of this game. Jayden Bradley knee injury and Timothy Martin suspected broken leg, so there could be some long-term injury, at least out for a couple of months for these players. So not good for you fans out there. The 32-22 score maybe was a little flattering to the Warriors in a way, in some instances, but Lockley Miller was outstanding, very good. Good game, 193 metres on line break assist. It was very good footy from Lockley Miller. He was very good. I really thought he played well after his gaff last week, so it was good for him to bounce back. Dan Gagai was outstanding. 2 tries, 170 metres. He was on fire. Tyson Forsell was turning back the clock, 100 metres and scoring a try. I see a Bolton for New South Wales this season. Daniel Safiti, he was a bit quiet with Leo Thompson. They didn't get much out of their props, but I suppose all the backline were doing their job, so it wasn't needed today. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes forward. Let's have a look at the Warriors. Chance Nickel-Cox there was outstanding, 245 metres. He was very huge. Kosi had a mixed game, knocking the ball on a few times, but did run some big metres. Adam Fanua Black, 150 metres. Tommy Owl off the bench, he was one of their best, 155 metres. Good to see, but disappointing Bunty Afoa again. He can go missing in games, and he went missing big time, and they really need more out of him. And Sean Johnson, he wasn't bad, 2 try assists, but he could have probably done a bit more in the second half to direct the ship around. Adam Pompey, he was rocks and diamonds. He's very much like a Manu type player. Drops in simple error, just out when they could have scoring opportunity, and it was probably a decent point in the game. They could have really got back in the game there when he knocked it on. So that's him. Josh Curran missed 6 tackles. Walker Tavaga 5 tackles, and they led in probably the easiest try of the year. And there was one more player in there, I can't remember who it was, but it was just simple, too easy try for the Warriors, and especially for the Warriors defense this year. Warriors are not the finished product, but Timothy Martin out for maybe a couple of months. Can they get it done? Luke Metcalf, is he ready to return? I'm not sure. So who do they put in there? Do they put Ronald Volkman in, or do they maybe put Dylan Walker at 6? It's going to be interesting to see how they do their turnaround. Hopefully Tohu Harris is back, and I would say Dallin Watini Salesenak should be back in the team, and they're probably I see him going onto the wing, whether that's for Costi or Montoya, that's up to you. They both dropped the ball, so it's a bit of a hard one. That's been a Warriors Achilles heel for a while, and also I think Niokora could easily go into the centres as well to stiffen up the defence. But I don't see that happening, but that's what I'll do to improve the Warriors. But yes, at the end of the day, the Knights were the better team. They well deserved to win. The final game of the Easter round on Easter Monday was closer than what people expected, but the Eels did get it done. Much needed win, 28 points to 22. But yeah, I'm not convinced. And it was really only because of one player, Mitchell Moses, who turned up and delivered. Absolutely had the boot on the string. He was just kicking through Luke Brooks beautifully. 4 try assists, 3 on the kick, absolutely, and then a beautiful pass out wide to Siva. He was in everything at 500 kick metres, absolutely one of the best of the round, no doubt about it. Tigers had 57% of possession, and they lost. This is just mind-blowing. The completion rate is pretty even, 76%, and Parramatta 78%. So, yeah, 500 more run metres from the Tigers, and they lost. It's just showing the tail of the thing. But the Eels, obviously, the kicking, or Mitchell Moses' kicking was the difference, clearly, compared to Luke Brooks. But yes. And obviously, at the end of this game, unfortunately, similar to the Ben Hunt incident, yeah, Charlie Staines knocked on after having an outstanding game, but he dropped it in the line dropout. And then a minute later, Siva scores the winning try. So what a big, important game, and Charlie Staines, unfortunately, had a shocker when needed. Adam Dewey could be out for the season, and collarbone injury that Brent ain't not looking good for you Tigers fans outside a wooden spoon. And regardless of all that, to me, Luke Brooks should be gone. He's got to be dropped. You have to drop him. To be not to be sad, but he's pretty much been like a cancer for the last 10 years for this club, and they need to go in another direction. And he just needs to be dropped. You got to wake him there. He can do a job. Let him go. I can see him going to a different club like Bulldogs, for instance, and need a number 7, and he'd probably kill it. But he's been in a bad system for a long time. He needs to go, move on. Yeah, what else can happen here? Charlie Staines, regardless, he had a great game. 238 metres outside of his mistake. Junior Tupou and Stafford Toa were very good. Adam Dewey was good back in number 6, but unfortunately he's injured. David Clemmer, outstanding. He was very good. Papali'i had his best game, as well as Bateman for the Tigers, their best game of the season. But he, obviously on the other side, Junior Tupou did drop the ball 3 times. Yes. And Luke Brooks, it's just not good enough. Just really not good enough. His kicking game wasn't good enough. Only 91 kicking game for the leaning halfback, and not good enough. 4 missed tackles. He really needs to do more. Coruscant 4 missed tackles, I should say. He's really been struggling for form. I think he probably wants to go back to the Panthers, to be honest, and take the less money to be a chance of winning a premiership, because he ain't going to be winning a premiership at the Tigers, I don't think. Ryan Madison, he was outstanding for the Parramatta Eels, 192 metres. Quite a few ran over 100 metres for the Parramatta Eels, so it was a team effort. Campbell Gillard was a bit off the pace this thing, but to be honest, he didn't have to be, with the rest of the team doing their job. Mitchell Moses, even though he was outstanding, he did make 5 missed tackles. That's why I gave the 3 points to Cameron Munster. But he single-handedly won that match, a bit like Andrew Johns back in the day. So outstanding. And they did this all at Junior Paulo. Well, I hope you enjoyed this round 6 of the review show, Barry Charles Footy Show. We'll be back again for another show very shortly.